back in May at our Home of
Stargate
Wargamers event, and we announced it with this teaser trailer.
It's such a great show. I hope the game's going to be good.
Now, to talk about Stargate Timekeepers, I'm going back to Epsom, where Neil McKenna is joining us as the producer on the game. Hello, Neil.
Hello, Marco.
You got the Christmas sweater notes then. That's.
I did indeed. I got the note and I followed it to the letter.
That's great. That's great. Thank you for joining us, Neil. You're the producer on Stargate, so you're going to tell us a lot more about the game today. First things first, we announced the game back in May. What was the reaction that we got for announcing this?
Well, it's always a nervous time when you announce a game. You work very hard on it in the run up to launch. You've been working for a long time on the game before anybody ever sees it, and no matter how long you've been doing it, it's still a nervous time when you announce it. And in May at the last Home of Wargamers, it was certainly a nervous time. But we were delighted with the reaction to it. People engaged with it really positively, very excited, even though we didn't say a lot about the game and what we were doing with it. There are clearly a number of Stargate fans out there who've been very keen for new Stargate content for a long time, and they haven't had much to play with, and people were very excited about it. So we were delighted with the reaction, both in dedicated Stargate communities and perhaps our more core communities, the more sort of Slytherin wargamer types. Everyone seemed to react well to it. There were a few people who wanted to know more about the game because we didn't say an awful lot about the game. So hopefully we can address some of those things today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the first questions we got was, well, what is the game about? How does it work? How do you do a strategy game based on the Stargate franchise? So I guess you can tell more about it now.
Yes, indeed. So we are going for a real-time tactics game, which to a lot of our fans will be entirely self-explanatory. But to those to whom it is not, you are controlling a squad of 6 players, not always all at once, a number of players per level. You have large playing fields through which you need to navigate your crew to achieve your objectives, which obviously differ from mission to mission. And I suppose the core pillar of the game is about getting by enemies, getting by guards to achieve your objectives and finding a way through dangerous situations and keeping your crew intact.
Yeah, we've been saying a lot about making narrative-driven games today. That's like a common thread of the whole afternoon, and I guess we're getting to the gist of it, right? With Stargate, we are making.
Okay, so those are the 6 characters, I guess.
Stargate experience here, true Stargate experience, with the narrative-driven campaign.
Including
Absolutely. I mean, we have to make a game which appeals to Stargate fans, and Stargate's DNA is films and movies. So we have to tell a story. We're telling a new story. We're not retelling an existing SG-1 story or anything like that. I've had a good read through of the material which will be going into the game. There's almost no dialogue in there today whatsoever. It's the biggest thing which is missing from the game, but I'm very confident that it's of a very high standard. Obviously, we work very closely with MGM to make sure that they're happy as well, and they go through these things very closely, come back with a lot of feedback, which is really helpful for us. So, yes, it's very dialogue driven, certainly. We want to make a game that appeals to Stargate fans as well as real-time tactics fans.
So the game, of course, the Stargate, Stargate franchise we're working on is the Stargate SG-1 franchise, the Stargate SG-1 TV show. So before we talk about the story of the game, which is the first part of what we're going to unveil about the Timekeepers today, let's take a look at what is the starting point of our new adventure.
Remember this?
My lord, a scout ship has exited hyperspace and is heading for the planet's southern pole.
You'll get chills watching this now. Wow.
Still looks great after all these years. This is Stargate SG-1 Season 7, Episode 22, The Battle of Antarctica. Neil, take it from here and tell us about the story of Timekeepers.
It is indeed the jumping off point for our story. It's probably one of the best known episodes from the TV series. It's a climactic battle between the Tauri, the Earth people, and the forces of Anubis, one of the Goa'uld system lords. The Earth people are on the verge of discovering Ancient's technology, which will make them much more powerful and a dangerous threat. And Anubis sends his forces to Earth, to Antarctica, to try and stop the extraction team from saving that equipment. It's one of the best regarded episodes, I think, in the entire 10 series of the TV show. Very highly rated. I think it's about 9.5 on IMDb. It was a pretty spectacular episode as well. I think originally it was written, the plot of this episode was written as the plot for a potential second Stargate movie, which obviously didn't get made in the end, and it got reused in the TV show. So it's a big, spectacular battle. I don't think I'm spoiling anything by saying that Earth win a stunning victory, and it changes the balance amongst the remaining system lords for the remainder of the series. So it's a very fondly remembered, very big episode, and it forms the jumping off point of our story. Our story doesn't retell the Battle of Antarctica, but it starts in the aftermath of that battle.
So, behind me, you can see there's a new artwork for Timekeepers, and this is telling a lot about the game itself. And I would like to use this as a starting point to tell more about the new characters we're introducing, and there are the main characters of our story, of the Timekeepers story.
Indeed. So our captain there, the largest figure, is Eva Mccain. She is one of the Tauri people, and sort of a very strong leader on whom the rest of the crew depend very much. Next to her is Max Bolton, who is the sniper, who does all the usual sniper things. Next to him, we have Sam Watson, who is the technical officer. He uses technology to his advantage a lot. He is very good at infiltration, at mind reading, at disguising himself as other characters. So he's a vital member of the team. Below that, we have Atar, who is one of the Jafar resistance, who plays an important role, and we'll see a little bit of her in a bit as well. We have our Unas character, who is Zugger there. He is something of a berserker, a blunt weapon, who also has a very cute pet, who I look forward to showing at some later stage. And last of all, we have Derek Harper, who is the drone operator, who is sort of highly scientific, not much of a fighter himself, but employs drones and can alter the balance of technology from a safe distance.
So there's quite a diverse team here. Of course, each member has its own qualities and
Did we have to use the term diverse?
And skills. We are going to introduce all these characters as we approach release. But the first character I'd like to focus on is Eva, of course. She's the main leader of the team. So tell us a little bit more about her and how she's leading the team.
So yes, Eva is our leader, and as a leader, it means she is perhaps the most widely skilled character overall. She's been drawn there with binoculars in her right hand. She is the only one who has the skill where she can look at a point on the map and see which enemies can see that point, so where the danger is coming from. In her right hand, in her left hand even, she's holding a rifle, which she can put to devastating use with short bursts of fire here and there. Sometimes there's only one way to solve a problem. She can also use bullet cases to distract in sort of the classic manner of real-time tactics games, get guards looking the other way for a few seconds. She's a skilled radio operator and also very deadly in approaching enemies from behind. She can approach stealthily, take people down quickly, and she also carries stun grenades around. So she's a very well-rounded character. As the narrative unfolds, we understand more about her existing relationships with the other crew members and the backstory to that and what drives her forwards. And later on in the story, we understand just how much she is prepared to sacrifice to get the mission completed, but can't say too much about that today.
Yeah, don't spoil much. That's why when we're going to show gameplay today, we're going to show only clips for Mission 1 and Mission 2 because we don't want to give too much away. But this is still going to give us enough variety to show about the game because, well, we said about Antarctica, and then we've got another environment to show. But let's start about this thing about the environments. I think they play a big part in the game. So we have quite a few images of how we studied the guys at Creative Forge studied the environments to make them look as interactive and cool as possible, but also adherent to what the TV show is about. So let's start from the Antarctica one, and you can maybe explain what we're saying. So this is here you go.
So, as I said, the jumping off point for our story, it starts in the aftermath of the Battle of Antarctica, but the battle is perhaps not entirely won at this point. There's still some forces of Anubis that need stopping before they can neutralise the SG-1 team. Set in Antarctica, so it's exactly as you would expect. It's very cold, it's very snowy, it's very blue-white. It means that you don't make an awful lot of noise as you walk around because it's windy, it's snowy, but it does mean that you leave footprints in the snow around you, which obviously can be spotted by guards and can give your position away, so you have to time very carefully where you're moving. An environment such as this is an ideal starting point for the story because the enemies are relatively easy to see against the background as well. We have sort of things like Cull warriors and easily spotted against the background. So it helps you get to grips with the basic mechanics of the game very well, and is an ideal environment to start the story in.
And then the next one we're going to see is the environment that's the mission 2 environment, which is completely different. As you were saying, the game's about visiting different locations, different planets. How does that work? How does that work in terms of how's the game panning out? Visiting different places, then going back to the same places, because it's a time loop, right?
That's right. The time loop is one of the most interesting parts of the game, and as you progress through the game, you will discover the existence of a device called the time loop, which allows you to go back to previous areas and retry them with new skills or perhaps different team members, which can be crucial to the successful completion of the story. Can't give away every detail about that, but it's vitally important that you master that and sort of you observe what you did wrong last time and learn from that and sort of leverage that into sort of more successful runs the next time around. With a game where or an IP like Stargate, where sort of interplanetary travel is such a large part of it. Obviously, that frees us up to use lots of different environments, and we'll see in the clips we're about to show that interacting with the environment is a crucial part of getting any mission done. So we have missions sort of in the day, at night, snowy, foresty, ancient temples, on fast-moving vehicles, indoors, underground. We have a whole range of environments which all present unique opportunities and indeed challenges.
So shall we jump on the first clip and show the game?
Let's do it.
Let's do it then. Okay. Let's go for it, Neil. Explain what we're seeing.
So here we have Eva creeping up, and this is towards the end of the level. You can see the wreckage of one of Anubis's spaceships on the ground. Eva is trying to get there because the guns are still functional, and she wants to use the guns to take care of the massed forces who are trying to neutralize the SG-1 team. As I said, Eva is very good at stealthy approaches. She can take people out either violently or non-violently. She tends to prefer taking people out in a non-violent fashion. You can see the view cone of the enemy guards there, as is typical in a real-time tactics game. It's a two-part view cone, so the solid part is where any movement will be detected, and the broken part you can generally crouch through and you will not be detected. That is Eva doing a bullet casing toss to fool that guy over there. He's now looking for the bullet casing and where it landed, allowing Eva to sneak past. We are observing this guard walking around the top and coming round at the moment. It is a central pillar of the game that you can only work out the answer by seeing what the guards are up to and learning their patterns and what their weaknesses are. So this guy's probably not moving. Let's creep up on him, and there he goes too. We can leave the body there because there is nobody looking. Quickly kick down the environment. Two bad guys there. Sometimes that's the only solution. So Eva's deadly burst fire takes care of those two. Eva is a fairly stealthy character, so even when she's firing her rifle, the noise doesn't stretch too far. And you saw the massed forces of Anubis there at the end, who need to be tackled, but we're not giving away how you're going to do that today.
Yeah, we've seen a tiny bit of the gameplay and how it works. I would say the basics, right? The very basics of what the game, how the game works. As I said, a tiny bit. How big are these levels? How big are these scenarios? How many of them we've got?
The levels are really big. There are 14 levels in total. I would say that it would take a decent player familiar with the genre probably on average something like about 16 hours to complete the game on a first run through. So over an hour a level. They're big things. obviously, your objectives are broken down into smaller groups, so you're not bombarded with information and 20 different objectives that you need to fulfill. As soon as you start, it's broken down into much more manageable chunks, and you never feel overwhelmed by the levels. There's always a relatively coherent block of gameplay in front of you that you can work out and think, right, okay, this is what I've got to do next, and this is how I'm going to approach it. But yeah, the levels really are big things.
What are we going to see next? You know, it's still Eva doing her own thing, but with a little bit of of extra stuff.
Yeah, so this is chronologically later in the story. This is indeed Mission 2, which does follow on from Mission 1, certainly. As I've hinted, not all missions are chronological.
This is the environment, by the way. This
is the forest world of Haktil, which is Eva's mission here is to escort the convoy, which is designated for some Jafar rebels. Not much resistance is expected, however, plenty of resistance is encountered. So Forest World, very different challenges. It's harder to see what's going on, but there's also a lot more places to hide, such as a forest. The game is being developed in Poland, so obviously we've got some bison in there. I think it reminds them of their homeland. I don't think we see any bison today, which is a terrible shame. We've had pigs, cows, and chickens already, but I don't think we're seeing any bison.
Right. So let's jump on the gameplay clip then.
So here comes Eva again. The bison just shot there.
How you doing, my friend?
The first objective will be to get to that bush. Any character can hide crouching in a bush, regardless of where the bush falls within guard's view cone. So we can see what the guard can see there. A brief hint there of Eva using her binoculars and showing which guards can see that point. So the bullet casing is tossed over there, which is just enough to distract that guard for a few moments and into the next bushes. A few more characters here. We can get as close as we like to them in the bushes. And again, we can see that point there. Two of the guards can see what's going on. The guards don't have especially good peripheral vision, so whilst they're looking from side to side, they do remain vulnerable round about there. Again, Eva takes him down quickly, ties him up. Nobody.
Yep. You're getting the Stargate preview here.
Might be looking soon, so pick up the body, pick up the bushes where it can be hidden. You can dump a body pretty much anywhere. Some are a bit more grisly than just shoving it in the bushes. We move on a bit, and here's a quick example of the teamwork as we have Atta, our Jafar girl, appearing. Obviously, all these characters will be controlled by you. There are no sort of unplayable characters. You will select your crew beforehand. A quick example of Eva's flashbang grenade there, and takes out two guys quickly. Atta takes one, Eva takes the other. Guard's got this pretty well covered, but you can see in the broken view cone we can get behind that truck if we take it nice and slow.
No, this looks all right.
Let's get them looking away.
Oops.
That's the end of the clip.
Yeah, that's we won't play it from the beginning. Yeah, so whilst we rewind the sort of fast forward the stuff we were showing, that's when we are starting to see some more variety in interaction with the environment. Which is interesting to see. You were saying that you play with both characters, so you are actually controlling every single member of the squad. So how do you plan your move? It's all in real time, right?
Absolutely. I would stress that we've hidden all the user interface just to make a sort of more clearly understood video today. But we do have a mode where characters can queue up orders, a tactical mode where characters can queue up orders, which are then executed simultaneously. So three characters can plan actions, and you'll have a movement action and an action, which will then be executed simultaneously, and that works really well. Team at Creative Forge have done a great job on that because it's worked brilliantly from day one. Here we see an example of what you're referring to, of interacting with the environment. Hey, and off you go. That's that guard's watch over. Stargate was a series which was never afraid of getting a bit of humour in there, and we're certainly trying to reflect some of that as well. So if the odd guard can't meet a comedy end, then what good is it? Is right in front of that guard. He simply can't see, so we don't need to worry about him too much. Creeping up, no real sound, so take care of that guy. And then a little bit more environmental interaction coming up, and look out, those guys at the top of the screen. Too late. So yes, there are many ways to solve problems, and the environment offers some good ways of solving some of those problems. I think there's going to be a lot to play around with and explore, and we certainly don't want to make a game where there's only one solution. There will be multiple solutions to find your way through any challenge.
Yeah, it's a big game design headache, right? To come up with all these little things you can do, but also give the opportunity to the players to actually play it, how they want it to be played. So it's an interesting challenge you've got in your hands.
Indeed, it is. You're absolutely right. It's a very big challenge at this end, but it's what you have to do to really allow the game to shine and give it replayability. People have to go back and replay levels, so there has to be more than one way of doing it.
Neil, a question that we all ask, I ask it about every couple of weeks. Players are probably asking it now in a chat. I don't read the chat, but where are we with development, and what is the plan for beta and for release of the game right now?
So we're pretty much content complete in terms of the levels. There are, I think, 13 of the 14 levels. The environments are complete now. Design passes are done. So the game is pretty much playable from start to finish. As I said earlier, the biggest thing that's missing at the moment is the dialogue, and particularly the voiceover, as it took us a while to find the right voices, which I think we've found now. So Creative Forge are going to be very busy recording that at the start of next year. I would be hopeful that we could be in beta towards, I would think, late March, early April 2022, so not too far now. As for a full release, well, obviously it depends what we find in beta, what people think's good about it, and dare I say what they might think is not good about it. But I would be hopeful that we could be looking for a release in about July, August of 2022.
You say July, and a date springs to mind. Next year is don't look at that date here. There's a Q2 2021 beta. Hopefully, it's not gonna. I think it's supposed to be 2022, but you were saying July.
I can confirm that did not happen.
You were saying July. Next year, there's a big anniversary, Neil, for Stargate SG-1.
Next year is the 25th anniversary of the debut of Stargate SG-1 on our TV screens. So, yes, we would love to get our release as close as possible to that milestone.
Yeah, and you said 25 years old, and I feel like my hair have gone somewhere, but I don't know where exactly.
I was already working in video games when Stargate was first on our TV screens, alas, yes.
Yeah, but Neil, thank you very much. I think it's great to see that the game's coming.
Well, this looks like it's going to be good. I really hope the story will be good, and I think that's where it will make or break.
They have done
the game, at least for me, this is going to be the story.
Tactics products, but I have to say that
I think so.
This is going above and beyond, and
very
both
good.
visually and